do you want to just explain like what PharmAppy is
Mm-hmm.
and how you guys founded it? Because it's a really it's a pretty unique idea.
Mm-hmm.
So how did you guys like come up with that?
We started. Oh, so we already started.
Yeah.
Oh right, sorry.
That's fine. I'll keep that in.
So yeah, it started. It was twofold really. So my dad worked in pharmacy for over 25 years, and every time we'd have tea at home with the family, my dad would always moan to my mum about how old-fashioned systems were in pharmacy. And I wasn't really interested. It'd be in my conscience what they were talking about. And then my grandparents would come over at a weekend and they'd moan about their prescriptions and accessing appointments and things like that. And it just happened so frequently that it came to the point where I was, piecing two together. Why isn't there like a solution that solves the problem for both the patients and the pharmacy? So we looked online, did a bit of research, and unlike most industries where technology was sort of like modern and things happen in the touch of a button, healthcare just wasn't that way. You obviously had the NHS app, there was a few apps for GP surgeries, MyGP, patient access, things like that. And then there was a few in pharmacy, health era, but we just felt we could do better. So we got a quote to build a really rubbish MVP, which allowed patients to order prescriptions, track them, message the pharmacist, a really simple app, and the quote was really hefty. And I've worked on software projects with Josh in the past. And so I asked Josh, I spoke to Josh about the idea, and then his grandparents had the same problems as mine. So he said, give me a week, because he'd never built apps before. He only worked on websites. And I'll get back to you. So you went back, and within a couple of days you said, you can do it. And that's pretty much where it started, really. I mean, the journey started way before that, didn't it? I mean, we started at like 14, working on little projects in school. And then, that's sort of where the idea began, really, and we went from there.
I've got a cough now. Okay, so how did you guys meet? Was it through school then? And that's how you got started on it and everything?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, so started the first little venture at 14, didn't we? So
yeah.
Mates in school would moan about the footballers on the front, the FIFA covers.
Okay.
And then we'd go home, redesign them to suit which footballer they wanted on Photoshop, print them out and sort of like sell them in school for like 50p to a few mates. So that's sort of where we started working together. And then we had a website marketing agency. We helped food brands get into more retailers. We worked on a few projects before PharmAppy, really.
Okay, that's well cool. Okay, and so how did you get into so you said you were designing websites and stuff, and then you said you could do this app. How did you just have a background in IT and software, or I mean that's pretty cool to be like, okay, I can design websites and be like, oh, here's an app.
Yeah, so I started in high school. I did computer science and stuff, and the tutor I had there was really good, and I loved it. And I went on to do college when I thought, this could be the next stage in learning, and it just wasn't that. It was just not anything I expected to be, more the theory side of it, no practical, which I thought was kind of irrelevant. So I ended up dropping out a bit early, and so I started working with Rhys, with websites, and some of the technologies that I used before that helped.
JavaScript.
Yeah, and JavaScript has grown so much over the years, so I was able to build an app.
Okay.
Oh yeah, I mean the first one was a bit ropey to say the least, but over the last 2-3 years now, isn't it?
Improved massively, isn't it?
Yeah.
To where we are now.
Oh, that's well cool. So is it just you guys? Do you have anyone else that helps you out, or is it just you guys do everything between you?
We're quite lucky that we have all the skills in house. So I do a lot of the design work, and then once I finish all the UI and the UX, hand it over to Josh, and Josh will develop it. Since earlier this year, we've had 6 developers down in Bristol working on the project as well. But yeah, it's just been a massive. It's been hard work. It's just the two of us, really.
Okay, it's really impressive though that you can do it most just between two of you, and you've been doing really well because you've just got funding, haven't you? So how did it go from you guys are working on this app and then making it into a business and then getting funding? What's kind of the process? So if someone else kind of had an idea and was like, okay, I want to start a business or an app, what's kind of the process for that? What's the journey from just the idea to getting funding and really getting like the ball rolling and stuff?
I think it all starts with you obviously set out to solve a problem. I don't think the goal is never to raise funding. The raising funding part is just what sometimes is necessary to get you to that next milestone. But I think when we started, we built out the MVP. We got it into 2 pharmacies. I think around 650 patients were using that first version. And then you build a bit of traction, and then you realise in order to take it to that next step, you need some funding. And not just funding as well, you need maybe some expertise to help you along the way. So I think PharmAppy started as a side project, like a lot of businesses, because we had to, we didn't have the money to just do it full time. So I think I had 3 jobs to start with.
Yep.
You worked in 3 jobs. You worked in a kitchen.
Yeah.
That's pretty intense as well, with the hours working in the kitchen.
Yeah, quite long hours. But when when I used to come out of my job, I used to get home and would stay up to 2 in the morning, designing, developing, trying to get the first version ready. Yeah, I mean, you started your other company going as well, didn't you?
Yeah, so we had our old business, the marketing company, alongside I was working in the NHS as well, and I was working on PharmAppy. So I think in the early days it's all about if you're in a 9 to 5 job, when you're watching TV at night and you have those hours, it's those spare hours. If you've got an idea and you're dedicated to it, use those hours to invest in the idea. But I think for us, we raised funding after we built up a little bit of traction. Our investor reached out to us, said he was interested in the journey. It wasn't even the talk about investment really, and then it just happened by chance. We built a good relationship with him. He loved the idea, and then the conversation about investment came around.
Okay, that's really cool. So what's like the next steps for you guys then? So I know you said that you had 2 pharmacies and was it 600 people using it?
Yes.
And then so what's next from that for you guys?
So that was the first version. We're now working on the second version. So we closed investment at the start of this year, and that investment included a strategic partnership as well. So now we've built PharmAppy version 2, which is the only patient app which is fully embedded into a pharmacy's workflow. So basically it means for a patient, from the moment they place an order for the prescription right through to when the prescription is dispensed, it's integrated with the pharmacy's back-end system. So obviously it's more secure, and patients, it's really efficient because they're kept up to date with push notifications and stuff throughout the whole cycle. So we've built that product. We've got around 90 pharmacies on the sign-up, 90 pharmacy owners on the sign-up list for the second version.
Right.
Many of them have got several pharmacies, so for us now it's just finalising. We're in testing with for the second version with 3 pharmacies. That number will soon be increased for testing, and then once we're satisfied that it's robust and it's ready to roll out, we'll roll out in phases to all the pharmacies on the list.
Okay, wow, that's pretty exciting, because going from 2 pharmacies to 90, wow, that's big. That's great.
Yeah.
That's really good. So another question I suppose is, after like looking at your guys' LinkedIn, because obviously I've been following it for a while, you guys have done more like public speaking recently. What's it called? I can't read my writing. Was it Tighten Up? You did some.
Yeah.
You did some public speaking. Okay, so how do you think that that's helped you as kind of running a business and stuff? Do you think that it's made you like more confident? What's kind of the benefits you think of public speaking, even about your idea and just for your personal development?
I'll let Josh talk about that only because I did a lot more of the business side and building relationships with people. So, and recently you've got a lot more involved in that side of the business.
Yeah, coming from all the tech side, it's not really my comfort zone, like going out and doing public speaking like that. But I think in business though, you're always going to be pushed outside of what you're happy doing, and I think it's quite important to get out there and do things that you wouldn't see yourself doing. I don't know. It's kind of one of the things. It's like when you do something well in business or you do something, it's always on to the next step. So that's done now. It's done. It's in the past. Right, on to the next thing. On to the next big event that comes up. On to the next thing. It's always thinking bigger, or where we can go.
I think that we did the Tighten Up conference. So Tighten is the is that partner we were talking about. So they're the back end patient medication record system in the pharmacy, so their workflow. So we basically launched PharmAppy version 2. There was 200 people there. I think 150 of them were pharmacy owners. So we were well out of our comfort zone. We've never done public speaking to that many people before. We luckily had a voice coach, didn't we, before it, which helped us massively.
Oh right, that's really cool.
But yeah, I think once you get into the rhythm of it, it's always, I think the thought of anything is always worse than the actual event in practice.
Yeah. I agree.
But I think once you actually, as soon as you do it, you know, the next one gets much easier.
That's true. So with things like public speaking and even networking and stuff, what do you think the value is that for your business? Like, not just getting to know, like you said, there was pharmacy owners and potential clients, I suppose. What's the benefits of networking, do you think? Because it's kind of, I suppose, connecting you with the right people. But why do you think networking is important?
I think it's definitely important because business is all about building relationships. Whether, you know, you need lawyers to do your legals, you need the right finance people, and you always need the right people to help you with different elements of the business. And not only that, but to build sort of awareness of what you're trying to do. I think it's really important, especially in the early days when, you know, you've not got much of a footprint. But then there's the other side as well, where diving too much into networking, into the wrong circles can drag you down. So I think it's making sure that you're spending your time in places that are going to add value to what you're doing, rather than bring it away from you. Because there's sometimes, especially in the startup world, you can get caught up too much in what I call the fluff, which is more, you know, where you're just sort of trying to, I don't know, it's more about ego rather than actually, you know, building your business. But networking is definitely important. Without us doing that in the early days, we definitely wouldn't be where we are now.
So would you guys, because you've been running this business, how long have you been running this business now, would you say?
It's around, we've been working on the project around 3 years. 3
years. So, because you guys have come really far then in those 3 years, would you ever think about maybe like mentoring other people, either that have got a startup that they're running or that they've just got an idea?
I'd say we'd only give advice at this point, because we haven't done it. You know, I mean, we're still
on our journey. Yeah.
We're still growing, so I think it would be wrong for us to put ourselves out as mentors until when we haven't done it. You know, we're still in the start of this journey, the same as a lot of other people are.
Yeah, and an accelerator that we've just been on asked us to be mentors at the end of the program.
Okay.
And I said, look, you can take my email, take my number, and I'm happy to catch up with people and help advise them on what we've done. But I just feel, you know, it'd be better when we've exited. I feel like I'd be in a better position to say, yeah, I'd be a mentor. Definitely happy to, you know, speak to different startups and help them along the journey with, you know, investment and building a product and things like that.
Okay, that's really cool. So for like an accelerator program then, what kind of thing is that, and who can get onto one of those?
Accelerator program, I think a lot of them are different. It's like a community of founders, you know, and it's like a safe space where you can go into and challenge each other on things that you're doing, or if you have any questions you can speak to other founders, because even though your businesses may be different, a lot of the challenges in business are very much the same, and there's a lot of people, you know, someone might have experienced a problem and have managed to solve it, and, you know, popping the question as to how to solve it can be really helpful. There's also events that they put on, and obviously a lot of them provide office space as well.
Yeah.
So in the early days when funds are limited, it's good to get in the space and mix in with like-minded people.
Okay, yeah, no, that's really cool. So, hang on, brain freeze. Okay, so with startups then, as you mentioned, they can face like different problems. Usually, you know, there might be an underlying things the same, and it can be quite difficult. It sounds like that accelerator program really helped. What's one thing do you think that drives you even when things can get really difficult? If things get like really tough and stuff, what do you think's your main driving force? Like, I suppose you guys might have different answers, but what keeps you going through like those 2 a.m, okay, I'm still working on this and it's driving me insane?
Do you want to go first?
Yeah, got to remember why you set out. What problem were you trying to solve when you started the business? And a business is up and down the whole way, but when you go in through the struggles, when something goes right, it feels even better. If everything was just level, it'd be boring, and you'd probably give up because you'd be boredom.
Yeah.
Because them up and downs always keep you on the edge of your toes, always keep you excited, and it's always the next morning. What problems are you going to solve today?
That's true. It does sound like really interesting, I suppose. And I think that's maybe probably why it differs from like maybe a 9 to 5, is because like you say, each day is going to be different. Some will be really great, and some will probably be maybe not so great, I suppose.
Yeah, I'd agree with Josh as well. Through the tough times, you always have to remember why you started.
Okay.
Because a lot of the time, business changes so much, especially as you scale. But you can't lose focus of your original vision. Obviously, sometimes you need to pivot and things, you have to adapt to change, but at the end of the day, that problem that you set out to solve, you're still on that mission. I think everyone has a different reason, as to what keeps them going. But I think it's just making sure that the team are united in the vision.
That's true, especially seeing as you guys are like, yeah, we've got a pretty similar response. I think that's really cool. So what do you think that, I suppose, the main difficulty's been for you guys so far? I don't know whether that's like getting, pharmacy owners to try it out, or even just like actual day-to-day things from the development side, things like that.
What would you say?
Probably a bit different, wouldn't they?
I think there's the difficulties, obviously, when you first start out, especially in your first business, maybe much easier once you've exited and you go again, is the financial struggles.
Okay.
I think that's fair to say for a lot of founders, because you sacrifice so much. I think, you work multiple jobs, your sleeves are well rolled up, and you're just willing to get your hands dirty. But that's a really important point, that you've got to be willing to get your hands dirty. You've just got to accept that it's going to be hard, it's not going to be easy. Yes, you've got the benefit of being your own boss, being able to manage your day, not being tied to a desk and having to live for the weekend. You have more control over it, but at the same time, work doesn't stop. Sometimes you have to answer emails out of hours, you've got phone calls. If there's a problem with the development, Josh may have to do it in the middle of the night. There's different things. You've always things always pop up, but financial struggles, I'd say, definitely are at the start. And sometimes that's why people need to raise investment, just so they can relax a little bit, and not be distracted by that financial struggle, so they can focus on what they're trying to do.
Yeah, so that you can keep going and without, you getting too stressed, because I think there's certain levels of stress where some of them might actually be productive, in that you kind of drive yourself forward because you're like, okay, this is coming up, yeah, I'm a bit stressed about this, but there's a deadline and things, but it can be productive. But I think it can get to a point where it gets too high, and like you say, if there's money involved, if it's financial, that's probably an added stress as well, where you're like, I need to do this, and because otherwise this might not happen, and things. So I suppose, like you said, investment can alleviate that, which is good. Would you say that it's maybe financial, or?
So yeah, financial. Yeah.
Yeah.
Been a bit of a struggle. Beans on toast.
Yeah.
It is. Yeah.
But as I say, as well, with the business, you start out with you give yourself your job title, what you do. That means nothing. In terms of business, it means, I take favour on Dev. Rhys takes favour of more of the design and that sort of stuff, and the running the business. But when it comes to the nitty-gritty stuff, it doesn't really matter. Like when we did the NHS stuff, if I had to switch my focus back to development, Rhys would then take the lead on the submission of all the documents and stuff. Even if some of them were mine, Rhys would have to do it because our hands are tied.
Yeah.
That's why Rhys said getting your hands dirty, even if you don't expect to be doing it, you probably end up doing it at some point.
Yeah.
That's true.
And I'd always say as well that if you can keep things in house, I think it's a lot more efficient. The work, if when you tend to outsource it, you're on the phone, you've got to try and arrange contracts, and sort of the development isn't measurable. I think we're quite lucky that because we work so close together, we can be agile. If I think something's not looking right in the development, I can say, Josh, I think we should change that. If he doesn't like something that I design, he'll be like, okay, that's good, but I think we can do it this way instead. And I think it's that having a close founder relationship definitely helps through the struggles, because it's not just about celebrating the good times, but being there for each other during the bad times as well.
Yeah, I think that's the thing. Once you maybe outsource, would you say you lose kind of that almost trust in that relationship? Like, you'll still have a relationship with them, but it's not going to be as close as, okay, we're working every day together, and you've got that level of trust, you've got that bond where you're like, I can rely on you if I say, can you hit this deadline, or can you do this? And then if you're outsourcing, like you said, you've got to pick up a phone, and there's no guarantee someone's going to listen to you, even if maybe you are, like, you know, contracting them, things like that. That's a really interesting point then, I suppose. How do you guys find it then, being able to do so many different things? Is it like, I suppose, might depend on the day, might be, okay, it's a really great opportunity and I love doing all these things, and other days you're like, I've got all these things to do. But do you think it's worth it? Would you ever go back to like a 9 to 5 where you're just doing one thing? No.
No, I think because, you know, yes, it's really hard, but you do see the reward as well. And that reward, you know, is even when you've massively scaled your business, the reward isn't just financial. It's seeing the benefits of what you've built to people's lives. And the reason why we started with our grandparents and with my dad, like seeing people using PharmAppy as a patient and it helping them better manage their prescriptions, communicate with the pharmacy, and make the pharmacy's lives more efficient as well. I think it's really rewarding, so it makes up for all the tough times. Do you agree?
Yeah. I'd add to that.
Yeah, I wouldn't go back to 9 to 5.
Definitely.
I think everyone's wired differently, aren't they? And it's just about appreciating everyone for what they bring. But I couldn't go back to 9 to 5.
Yeah, to be honest.
Yeah, do you guys see yourself as being, like, you never know, if you get to that point with PharmAppy, I mean, you might not do that forever. Like, people like Stephen Bartlett, obviously, with, like, social chain, they move on and do other things. Do you think you'll always be involved in kind of helping out startups or running your own startup? Do you think that's kind of almost, in a way, addictive, that you're like, okay, building that from the ground up and then move on, almost like, I don't know, like, kind of sometimes, you know, I worked in a startup, didn't found it, nothing like that, but it was fun to work in it, but it kind of felt like a game because you've got a checklist and you're doing all these amazing things and you're doing 1,000,001 things, and then you kind of hit, you know, achievements like, I've got this app launch, I've got this, and it's always like the next level. But do you think you'd hit a point where you'd be like, okay, in the future, right, I want to move on and start another business and go from the ground up?
Yeah, definitely. I think the aim really with PharmAppy, you know, we just want to scale it up as much as possible. You know, solve problems for our grandparents, but on a big scale. I think, it definitely won't be the last one. Yeah. Definitely going to go again, but in the future, long term, I'd like to invest my time and money back into startups and help people like Josh and I who have started, you know, from nothing, to help them build their ideas. Yeah.
Was the idea always going to be PharmAppy then? Or, like, because you guys said you'd already worked on other projects, was there anything else that you were kind of like, oh, it's a toss-up between, you know, like, oh, there's this really cool pharmacy app that we can build, or, I can't even think of an example, just, like, anything else that you had in mind?
No, I think PharmAppy was a side project to start with, because obviously we were both in work and we had another business as well. No, I think you can't. One of the problems that a lot of people do is they try to divert their time, diversify their time too much. In order to build a business, you can't afford to do that. Yeah. You need to channel all your energy into that, to build it up.
Yeah, there's no way I could be building 2 apps at the same time. So
Definitely not.
It's only 24 hours in a day, unfortunately. So.
Yeah, and you guys sound like you're pretty busy with the 24 that you've got. So how do you manage that then? How do you manage, like, a work-life balance? Do you have one, or is it... I like that question because you're like, oh yeah, how's your work-life balance? And sometimes people are just like, So...
Well, weekends don't exist.
No.
Really?
Bank holidays.
I think...
No.
We've been out a couple of times the last, like, 6 months. But other than that, it's just crack on.
Yeah.
Stuff to be done.
Yeah, I think in business, or especially in the startup journey anyway, it'll be much easier when we start hiring, which will be later this year. But I think there's no such thing as weekends really, bank holidays. Every day is just another day. You know, you don't think, right, it's Sunday, I'm not working today. If something needs to get done, we get it done. I think that's just the way you've got to be. And I think that's a mistake that a lot of founders do make as well, is yes, it's good to have a work-life balance. Like I go to the gym in the morning. That's my escape, and some people's escape may be different. Maybe going for a walk, listening to a podcast, or reading a book or something like that. But I think, yeah, if a job needs to get done, you've just got to do it.
Okay. So do you think that takes like discipline and practice, or have you guys always just been like, okay, wake up, this has got to be done, get it done on a Sunday? Or is it kind of taking time to build that attitude?
I don't know, we've always been like that.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, but it also helps on, I said, co-founders working together. It's if there's a day where I'm not up 100%, I'm not feeling like, oh, this is going to be a grim day. It's like Rhys about, no, come on, we've got to get it done.
Yeah.
And that'll pick me up to get it done, vice versa,
Coffee helps.
Yeah.
But I think, yeah, it's just about, if I'm having a down day or vice versa, then we give each other a virtual slap in the face and say, come on, this is, remember why we started, let's just get it done. And I think it's always having different motivations, whatever they are, but yeah, I think it definitely helps being able to lean on other people. And even if you're a solo founder as well, it's having that close circle around you in terms of mentors or friends that you can lean on when times are hard.
Yeah. Did you guys have any mentors or anything as you started? Apart from the accelerator thing, was there anyone else involved?
My dad is great, but he's obviously he's sort of the pharmacy brains behind what we're doing.
Yeah.
So if times are difficult and we have questions to ask them, we'll drop him a WhatsApp. And longer term, Dad would like to be involved in the business as well.
Okay.
So I think, and there's also people that have been there, founded a business, has exited, and you build, as you said before, with networking, you build those sorts of contacts up, and it is important to have, those people in your contacts on your phone that you can drop a text or go and meet for a coffee.
Yeah.
So if you are struggling, they've been through those challenges and they can advise on how to help you out.
Yeah, so do they support you with kind of practical problems, or is it kind of just like, look, I'm getting really burnt out, I'm getting stressed, and they might explain to you, right, if you're getting burnt out, it's alright, just take a minute.
Mm-hmm.
Bit of both.
Yeah.
And especially when we were raising investment as well,
Mm-hmm.
because raising investment is a whole other job. It's like a full-time job in itself, as well as doing all the other things you've got to do day to day. And we were out pitching. I was pitching for like probably 6 months. So I think, and I was stressing myself out a lot when contracts were on the table about all the minor details, and it's just having someone to say, just relax, basically you stress yourself out for no reason really.
Mm-hmm. So when you said that raising investment and going out and pitching and stuff for 6 months is like a full-time job, why is it like a full-time job? What does that entail rather than like your day-to-day stuff that you normally do?
Building relationships.
Okay.
I think that's the most important thing. A lot of the investment scene is made to feel like it's us and them.
Mm-hmm.
You've got founders that experience financial struggles, and you're in a completely different situation to those that are either run the VC or and it's their money, or they're an employee at the VC because they'll be earning a nice standard income every month. So you're in a very different point in life, and it can feel like us and them, but I think it's important to build relationships with people. We got investment basically over a coffee.
Really?
Yeah.
Okay. Wow. That's pretty cool. That's a good story. It's a good title to have. I got investment over a coffee.
So I think it's just about building relationships. I never really liked, when you were pitching to a panel or you'd go and pitch to investors, it'd feel like, it just wouldn't feel comfortable.
Mm-hmm.
Whereas when you just, not necessarily even pitching for investment, but just sort of portraying the vision, I think if the investor is on board with what you're doing, the conversation of investment will come out naturally.
Mm-hmm.
But in terms of the stresses, you don't really get much sleep because your mind's buzzing. You're trying to position your pitch deck and your pitch presentation in a more succinct and powerful way. You're actually trying to get those meetings set up. Numbers are constantly changing. What do we need to raise? Where are these funds going to be spent? Because there's so many questions around investment, and it's just trying to prepare the best you can to put you in a good position.
Yeah. How do you deal with those stresses then, or if you get burnt out and stuff? Because I know you said about the gym, but what kind of stuff do you do, Josh? If you feel burnt out, what do you?
Well, I'm not as productive with the gym. To be honest, just sitting there on my phone.
You're more chill though.
Yeah. I think. No, it's not much really. Honestly, just sit there on my phone. Yeah, I enjoy cooking. To be fair, cooking's quite fun, but I wouldn't say it's a switch off. Just Instagram Reels is my thing at the moment. I can't get off them. It used to be YouTube Shorts. Now Instagram Reels are taking over my life, but.
I feel like TikTok's slowly like creeping into every platform, but sometimes you need it because I feel like you can just take a break from everything and like kind of overload your brain with like dog videos or whatever. But I do think that does help. Yeah, I don't exactly switch off by going to the gym. I wish I could say that, but I suppose it's different for everyone.
Everyone's switch off is different. I feel. I can't. I feel restless. Like in the morning, I'm like, I need to get up. I need to get out, and everyone's different, and it doesn't matter how you switch off. It's whatever suits you. I said before, like whether it's reading a book, going for a walk, even scrolling Instagram Reels. It's whatever helps you bring your mind back to like a docile state, so you have the energy to put into the business.
Yeah, I know what you mean. I think with me, my way to switch off is I play piano. I don't know why. It's just the only thing that like everything in my brain just switches off completely, and it's great. Sometimes TikTok as well, but then I feel like if I'm on TikTok, just carry on scrolling. And
never ending. You play guitar? You didn't say that.
Yeah, I don't really play it as a switch off though. I mean, I play it if I want to enjoy myself.
Okay.
It's not something that reeks in. If I'm trying to learn something new, especially, I'll just annoy myself. I'm trying to learn something, so probably not the best time to wind down.
I was going to say that's pretty cool though that you're doing all this and then you're also still trying to learn and do other things on top of it. I think that is crazy hearing about like with both of you that you're just doing so much. You know, you're raising money for the investment, but you've got that, so congrats. And then you're also still developing your second version of the app, everything else. And I'm just like, how do you have enough time in the day? Or do you not?
I don't think there's never enough time in the day.
Okay.
But I think it's just about. I always say that every day it's all about the small wins that you do every day. Like it's not about you're not going to achieve a huge milestone every day. You know they rarely come about. It's all about moving the needle ever so slightly. If you woke up and before you go to sleep at the end of the day, you managed to move the needle a tiny bit, you've made progress on the day before. And I think it's just about, if you do that every day and be consistent with it, eventually those big milestones will come. It's just all about being consistent.
So it's like making the small changes every day rather than waking up and saying, right, I'm going to do this with my life and change 1,000,001 things. I think that's pretty cool. I like Atomic Habits because that book says about that.
Yeah.
It's really good. So what, I suppose, if there was someone like listening to this podcast who is thinking of starting their own small business or a startup or whatever, maybe even specifically like an app if there's anything about that, what advice would you give them kind of looking back? Is there things that you would do differently or...
I don't know if you want to answer this one or do you want me?
Yeah, I don't know if there's anything necessarily I'd do differently. But
it's all a learning curve. Like, there's so many people, you know, there's people would, a lot of people get too taken back by the failures, but I remember Lewis Morgan, one of the co-founders of Gymshark, even he said in the podcast, what he said is so true in terms of failures aren't failures, they're just learning curves. And if you can make sure that every failure that you experience, you can learn from it, then you're going to be in a better position. So I would never say that I would have done anything any differently, really, because it's got us to where we are today. But I think it's just, and a lot of people, in terms of investment as well, a lot of people get caught up in just wanting to raise investment. It's just making sure that they're aware that investment is just a leapfrog to that next stage. You know, it's not sort of validated the business. It's validating what you're doing, and it's just going to help you to get to that next step. Yeah,
so you've got to keep growing even once you've hit the investment. You almost can't take your foot off the pedal because, like, you've just kind of got more fuel. I feel like I'm using a car analogy, but
you've
like,
got to push the pedal even harder.
Yeah,
once you've raised investment,
because you've got more kind of stuff to run with there. Because you've got more opportunity, you've got more funding, which I suppose, like you said, may allow you to like hire more staff, things like that.
You've got more fuel in the tank, so put your foot right down.
Yeah. Well, a lot of people try and say as well is take a step back and have a look what you've achieved over that period of time, but it never comes around. because it's you built the first product, then you think it's going to be confetti. It's not, because then it's like, right, what we got to do now? Then you raise investment. You think that's going to be confetti,
champagne,
galore, yeah,
nothing.
big parties. No. It's like, right, next day head down. We got money to
deliver.
Yeah. And after this pharmacy show, we thought we were going to present this. We're going to, pharmacy show, sorry, tighten up. We're going to do this presentation. We're going to be amazing. And it's like, right, no. Now we've got 90 people waiting.
Got to deliver.
It never, the confetti never comes just onto the next step.
A lot of people say even when they've exited, it doesn't. It's almost like, what do we do now? It's not. I don't think there's ever. I think you've got to obviously stay true to your vision, and you will solve the problem if you keep going. But it's not getting too caught up in. It's just about enjoying the journey, rather than thinking confetti's going to come all the time, because it doesn't. When we raised investment, I remember when that night when we signed the investment, for me it was more of just a relief, because I was so stressed out financially, that it was just a relief. Right, brilliant. Now we can not worry about that. We can put our focus into growing.
Yeah. No more beans on toast.
I don't know what that means. Yeah, helps a little bit.
Yeah, nothing wrong with beans on toast. So, like you said, with PharmAppy, I suppose, like with the next steps, then you said you might be hiring people in the future. Are you excited about things like that, or are you kind of nervous? Because it's like, if you hire people, you've kind of got to then manage people, and I don't know if that's something you've ever done before. Like, how are you feeling about the next steps then?
I'm excited. I think it's just about hiring the right people and building a great team. I think obviously the first sort of staff we'll need is developers to support you, so you can take a bit of a step back and and think more rather than do more, and then help their staff as well. But I'm excited for the next phase.
Yeah, just means we can move even faster than we are.
Yeah.
I just want to make sure that that our team are always aligned with the vision. I don't want to lose sort of the culture that we've created between the both of us.
Yeah.
And we can always stay agile, because I'd hate to see the culture changes. And I know it's really difficult as you scale, but I just want to keep it as grounded as we can as we scale.
Yeah, you want to keep it as close to it is now for as long as possible.
Yeah.
I think that's the right attitude to have, especially, I've been lucky enough for the companies I've worked for, they've had a great culture, and they've always kept that even from when they've been a start-up, and some of them have grown like massively, things like that. It is difficult, but I'm sure you guys will manage. If you've managed it between two of you, and you guys seem to get on well, like, I imagine that some people with the startups, if there's two of you, like, that you could maybe drive each other insane, but you guys seem to be fine.
We do drive each other insane, but I think you've just got to support each other.
Yeah.
And it's you've got to make sure that you know when to work and when's not as well.
Okay. Even though you guys say that, is it almost like 7 days a week for you guys?
Oh yeah, it doesn't ever stop. Some days are quieter than others, but even if we go on holiday, we'll still have our laptops out and be doing emails and.
Okay.
Because that's just what it takes, and you've got to put the work in. I think I always see it as like a funnel. It's like what you put in is the reward you're going to get out, and the more you put in, the more you're going to get out.
That's fair.
And I think for anyone else just starting out, it's understanding that it's going to be tough, but it's definitely worth it. So if you've got an idea and you believe in it, then pursue it, and don't let anyone tell you that you can't.
Yeah. Okay. That's pretty cool. I mean, I've not got anything else really to ask you guys. Is there anything else you want to say, or?
I suppose just thank you for having us on the podcast. It's
Thank you.
nice to be one of the first.
Yeah. Well, I appreciate you guys being here. But yeah, I think that's everything.